When God begins to move in your life, everything around you starts to shift. The atmosphere changes. The familiar begins to lose its comfort. What once made sense begins to shake, and suddenly you realize you are no longer where you used to be. You are being carried by a force greater than yourself, guided by an unseen hand, moved by a will that is divine. When God is moving you, you will feel it in your bones. You will sense it in your spirit. It won't always make sense to your mind, but your heart will know that something holy is taking place. You will know that heaven has decided to rearrange your path, not to destroy you, but to prepare you for something you could never imagine. When God moves you, He first disturbs your comfort. God never moves anyone who insists on staying comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of calling. And so, the first thing God does is make your old life unbearable. You will feel a divine restlessness in your spirit. What used to satisfy you will now leave you empty. The conversations you once enjoyed will suddenly feel meaningless. The environment that once brought you peace will begin to drain you. This is not depression. It is transformation. It is the movement of God within your soul, pushing you out of the ordinary into the extraordinary. You will wake up one day and realize, I can't stay here anymore. That's when you know God is moving you. The nest begins to feel too small for the eagle that's meant to soar. And as this movement intensifies, you will start losing people. The second thing that happens when God is moving you is separation. You cannot take everyone into the next dimension of your destiny. There are people who were essential in your last season, but dangerous in your next. God will begin to cut ties you didn't have the courage to cut. You will wonder why certain relationships fall apart. You will try to fix what God Himself is dismantling. But when God is moving you, He removes attachments that will slow you down. Not everyone who clapped for you loves you. Not everyone who walked with you is meant to stay. When God elevates you, He must isolate you. The noise around you has to quiet down so you can hear His direction clearly. What feels like rejection is often redirection. You will cry, you will question, but you will understand later that it was divine surgery. Painful but necessary for your survival. Then comes the third sign. You will face resistance. When God is moving you, the enemy will notice. Every time destiny draws near, opposition rises. Don't mistake resistance for defeat. It's confirmation. The moment you decide to follow where God leads, forces that were once silent will suddenly awaken against you. People will misunderstand you, situations will turn against you, and doors that seemed open will suddenly close. But remember this, when God is moving you, He doesn't remove the storm. He gives you strength to walk through it. Resistance is not a sign that you are wrong. It's proof that you are advancing. The enemy only attacks what threatens him. And when your life begins to carry the fragrance of divine movement, every power of darkness takes notice. But don't be afraid. What God begins, no opposition can destroy. You are being tested not to break you, but to reveal the depth of your faith. Every challenge is a training ground for the strength required in the next level. As this divine transition unfolds, the fourth thing that happens is silence. You will pray, and God will seem distant. You will seek answers, and heaven will appear quiet. But don't misinterpret divine silence as absence. When God is moving you, He often withdraws His voice so you can learn to trust His hand. You won't always hear Him, but you will see the evidence of His movement. He will close some doors so firmly that you will know only He could have done it. He will open others so suddenly that your heart will tremble with awe. Silence is God's language of intimacy. It's in the quiet that your roots grow deep. It's in the stillness that faith matures. Many lose hope in the silence, but the wise understand it is preparation. Just as the seed breaks in silence before it sprouts, your destiny is forming in hiddenness before it manifests. When God stops speaking, it's often because He's busy working. Then, as you continue to walk in obedience despite confusion, something remarkable happens. The fifth sign appears. Your perspective begins to change. You start seeing what you once ignored. You begin to discern what you once tolerated. Your spiritual senses awaken. You no longer chase what others chase. The noise of the world loses its grip on you. You start valuing peace over popularity, purpose over pleasure, depth over distraction. God is renewing your mind. He is shifting your vision. You begin to understand that not everything that glitters is gold. What others call success, you begin to see as emptiness without divine purpose. This change in perspective is not random. It is spiritual maturity. When God moves you, He not only changes your surroundings, He transforms your sight. You begin to perceive the unseen. You start walking by faith, not by feeling. You stop reacting to circumstances and start responding to divine instructions. Your discernment becomes sharper, your priorities clearer, and your heart quieter. You start to live from the inside out. But the most powerful sign, the sixth thing that happens when God is moving you, is divine acceleration. After all the pain, pruning, and preparation, suddenly things begin to move fast. What took others years will happen for you in months. What seemed delayed will manifest at the appointed time with supernatural speed. You will look back and realize why God made you wait, why He removed certain people, why He allowed certain disappointments. Every tear, every closed door, every silent night, it all makes sense now. When God moves you, He restores lost time. He redeems wasted seasons. He opens doors no man can shut. He causes the right people to find you, the right opportunities to chase you, and the right blessings to overtake you. Acceleration is God's signature on your obedience. It's His way of saying, now that you have trusted me in the slow, I can trust you with the fast. The same God who seemed silent is now flooding your life with movement. Divine speed begins to operate where once there was stagnation. You will stand in awe of how everything begins to align perfectly. Because when it's God's time, nothing can stop it. But remember, divine movement is not always glamorous. It's often disguised as chaos. When God is moving you, He will shake the very foundations of your life. You will feel stretched beyond your limits. You will have moments of confusion, moments where you wonder if you misunderstood His plan. Yet through it all, something inside you will whisper, keep going. That whisper is not your imagination. It is divine guidance. It's the Spirit of God reminding you that the pain of transition is temporary, but the purpose is eternal. Growth always feels uncomfortable because it requires leaving behind who you were to become, who God destined you to be. Every shaking is proof that God is building something greater. You cannot have a new beginning without an ending. So, when things fall apart, don't panic, praise. Because it means God is constructing something new. And as you continue walking this divine journey, you'll notice that God begins to remove distractions. You'll lose the desire for meaningless entertainment, the appetite for shallow conversations, the craving for validation from others. You will begin to crave stillness, truth, and the presence of God. You'll find yourself more focused, more selective, more peaceful. That is divine movement. God is decluttering your soul. He's emptying you of noise so He can fill you with direction. He's stripping away your dependence on people so He can anchor you in His power. You'll start realizing that solitude is not loneliness, it's alignment. When you are alone, you can hear God clearly. When everyone leaves, you finally meet the one who never does. It's in those sacred moments of solitude that destiny downloads happen. Visions become clear. Purpose becomes undeniable. That is where God births greatness. In hidden places, in quiet seasons, in the hearts of those who refuse to give up. But you must be careful, because divine movement often offends the flesh. When God is moving you, you will feel torn between your comfort and your calling. The flesh will resist change, but the spirit will crave it. You'll feel a pull to go back to what's familiar, but something deeper will push you forward. Don't give in to nostalgia. Don't romanticize what God has already delivered you from. Some doors are closed because they were traps. Some people are gone because their presence would poison your promise. The path of divine movement is narrow. Few understand it. But those who trust it walk in power. They carry a peace that surpasses understanding, a strength that confuses the world. When God is moving you, your life becomes a testimony of unseen hands shaping visible outcomes. You see, God doesn't move you randomly. Every shift is strategic. Every discomfort is divine. Sometimes He will move you geographically to a new place where your gifts can grow. Other times, He moves you emotionally, healing old wounds so you can love again. And sometimes He moves you spiritually, pulling you out of shallow waters into deeper faith. No matter how it happens, movement means growth. It means you are no longer standing still in fear. It means God is trusting you with a greater assignment. Every great destiny requires movement. The ones who refuse to move miss what was meant for them. But the ones who surrender to the flow of God's hand become unstoppable. They walk through fire and come out refined. They face storms and emerge stronger. They lose everything but gain wisdom. That is what divine movement does. It turns ordinary souls into vessels of divine power. And as you continue on this path, you will realize that not everyone will understand you anymore. When God is moving you, your conversations change, your goals shift, your energy evolves. People who once connected with you will now say you've changed. And they're right. You have changed. You are no longer living by human logic. You are living by divine instruction. Your life is no longer about proving yourself. It's about fulfilling divine purpose. You won't have time for gossip, competition, or comparison. Your focus will be on growth, on inner peace, on alignment with God's will. That's the mark of divine movement. You no longer chase the world. The world begins to chase what you carry. There will be moments of testing in this journey. God will allow certain challenges to see if your faith is rooted in comfort or conviction. You may lose things that once defined you: status, possessions, approval. But in losing them, you will find your true self. You will realize that your worth was never in what you had, but in who God created you to be. Divine movement always begins with subtraction before multiplication. God takes away what limits you so He can add what will elevate you. That's why He removes certain people, closes certain doors, and blocks certain paths. It's not punishment, it's preparation. He's not trying to make your life smaller. He's making room for something greater. And when you fully surrender to this process, something extraordinary happens. You begin to walk with divine confidence. You no longer question every turn. You stop begging for signs. You stop chasing validation. You simply trust. You wake up knowing that even if today brings uncertainty, God is still in control. You stop worrying about what others think, because your peace no longer depends on approval. It depends on alignment. That's the freedom that comes when God is moving you. You realize that you don't have to force anything. What's meant for you will find you. You don't have to compete. You just have to stay connected. You don't have to know the whole plan. You just have to trust the planner. When God is moving you, life no longer feels predictable. Everything familiar begins to tremble, and you can almost feel the ground beneath you shifting. It is as though the wind of heaven has entered your story and is rearranging every piece of it. You start to sense that you are no longer the one in control. Something greater is steering the course. And though it feels unsettling, there is peace beneath the shaking. That peace whispers to your spirit, this is not the end. This is transition. When God moves you, He is not punishing you. He is promoting you. The breaking is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to release the version of you that could never come forth while you remained in comfort. You see, when God moves you, He begins by stirring a divine dissatisfaction in your soul. What once excited you begins to feel empty. What once felt fulfilling begins to feel stale. This is how God awakens your destiny. He disturbs your spirit to pull you into higher ground. Many people mistake this divine stirring as failure or frustration. But in truth, it is God's way of saying, you've stayed here long enough. God does not want you stuck in places that no longer feed your growth. He will shake the ground beneath your feet until you can no longer settle for mediocrity. You will find yourself restless, yearning for something more, something deeper, something truer. That is the evidence of movement. God is preparing to take you to a place where your potential can finally breathe. And as this divine transition begins, God starts to strip away illusions. The masks of people fall off. The motives behind relationships become clear. You begin to see beyond appearances and recognize the difference between companionship and distraction. God will not allow you to remain blind in a season of movement. When He begins to elevate you, clarity becomes His gift to you. He will show you who is truly for you and who has only been taken from you. You will begin to feel the weight of misplaced loyalty. But don't be discouraged when people fall away. It is part of divine alignment. God removes what no longer belongs to make space for what must enter. Every exit, though painful, is preparation for a new entrance. Sometimes, the silence of people is the voice of God saying, "You don't need them for where I'm taking you." When God is moving you, He begins to break attachments that have quietly enslaved your soul. You may lose possessions, positions, or relationships, but it is never lost in the hands of God. It is refinement. He takes away what anchors you to the temporary so He can anchor you in the eternal. God never allows you to lose something that is essential to your purpose. Every removal has meaning. Every closed door is a form of protection. The disappointment you feel today is often the shield that prevents tomorrow's destruction. So when things fall apart, instead of crying out, "Why me?" start saying, "Thank you, God, for moving me." Because what you don't see is that God is rearranging your life behind the curtain. He is building a new chapter while you are still grieving the last. And in this season of divine movement, confusion often becomes your companion. You will not always understand what is happening, and that is by design. God will not allow your understanding to go before your obedience. He leads you step by step, moment by moment, teaching you to trust without explanation. That is how faith grows. Faith is not proven when the path is clear. Faith is proven when you walk through the fog, still believing that God knows the way. When God is moving you, you will not see the entire map. You will only see the next step. He hides the destination, so your dependency stays on Him. The darkness is not a sign of His absence. It's a call to walk closer. When you can no longer trace His hand, you must trust His heart. That trust becomes your anchor when everything else is shifting. And as you continue in obedience, you begin to notice something remarkable. Your spirit starts to grow stronger than your circumstances. The fear that once controlled you begins to lose its power. The doubts that once paralyzed you begin to fade. You start to walk differently. You start to speak differently. You begin to respond instead of react. This is the transformation that happens when God is moving you. You are no longer being driven by emotion. You are being guided by divine wisdom. You begin to understand that not every battle requires your reaction. Some storms are meant to pass without your interference. When God is moving you, you learn to be still while He fights for you. You realize that silence is sometimes the loudest form of faith. But in this divine process, you must also understand that movement does not always look like progress. Sometimes God moves you backward to prepare you for a greater forward. He allows delays to develop patience, detours to deepen faith, and disappointments to reveal hidden strength. The path of divine movement is never straight. It is purposeful. What looks like a setback is often a setup. What feels like waiting is often alignment. When you feel as though nothing is happening, God is actually arranging everything. The unseen hand of heaven is writing chapters you have yet to read. So don't rush the process. Don't try to force open doors that are meant to remain closed. Timing is sacred. When the appointed moment comes, everything will unfold effortlessly. The same God who began the movement will bring it to completion. When God is moving you, He also changes the atmosphere around you. People begin to perceive something different in you even before you speak. Your presence starts to carry peace. Your words start to carry weight. And your energy begins to shift. You will notice that those who live in confusion may feel uncomfortable around you because divine clarity exposes everything false. The light in you begins to irritate the darkness in others, but do not dim it. God did not move you to blend in. He moved you to stand out. You are not meant to be ordinary. You are meant to carry divine distinction. And with that distinction comes responsibility. God will test your humility in promotion, your compassion in power, and your obedience in abundance. Movement is not just about elevation. It's about refinement of character. There will also come a moment when you realize that divine movement is not always external. It's internal first. Before God changes your situation, He changes your spirit. Before He expands your territory, He expands your capacity. You will feel God breaking old mindsets, dismantling fears, and reshaping the way you think. He will confront your insecurities and uproot the lies that have held you captive. You will begin to feel lighter, freer, more centered. That is the internal movement, the unseen transformation that precedes the visible one. When your inner world aligns with the will of God, your outer world begins to reflect it. Change always begins within before it manifests without. And as you keep walking through this divine process, you will notice a sacred pattern. Before every great breakthrough, there is always a great breaking. Before the dawn, there is always darkness. Before the promise, there is always pressure. That is how God strengthens you. Pressure builds endurance. It purifies your motives. It teaches you to stand firm when everything around you shakes. Many give up during this stage, not realizing that the breaking is a sign that birth is near. God allows the pressure to push you into purpose. You can't become what He created you to be without shedding what you used to be. Every breaking is birth disguised. What looks like pain is actually God's hand preparing you for manifestation. When God is moving you, you begin to live with divine awareness. You no longer see coincidences. You see coordination. You begin to recognize divine timing in every delay, divine protection in every closed door, and divine mercy in every redirection. You start to realize that nothing in your life is random. Even the mistakes you made are being turned into messages. Even the pain you endured is being shaped into purpose. God wastes nothing. Every season, whether joyful or sorrowful, is being woven into your destiny. The pieces that don't make sense now will form a masterpiece later. All He asks is that you trust Him long enough to see it. And in the fullness of divine movement, you begin to attract what belongs to your purpose. Opportunities start aligning. Right connections appear without effort. You begin to meet people who reflect the next level of your journey. Conversations shift. Environments evolve. and even your desires transform. What once satisfied you now seems too small for the vision growing inside you. That is divine alignment. When God moves you, He doesn't just send blessings. He makes you the kind of person who can handle them. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer strive, you flow. You no longer live in fear, you live in faith. That is what it means to be carried by divine movement. You are no longer forcing outcomes. You are walking in divine rhythm. But don't mistake divine rhythm for ease. Movement often brings stretching. God will place you in situations that test your patience, stretch your faith, and challenge your discipline. The higher you rise, the stronger your foundation must be. So when God moves you, He deepens your roots before He extends your reach. He teaches you to stand still in trust while He works beyond your sight. This is the hidden power of divine preparation. While the world sees delay, heaven sees development. God will never put you in a position you're not prepared for. Every season of waiting, every trial of faith, every quiet night, they are building the strength you will need for what's coming. When you finally understand this, peace floods your spirit. You stop fighting God's timing and start flowing with it. You stop asking, when? And start saying, I'm ready. You begin to trust that wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. Even in the chaos, even in the uncertainty, even in the silence, you know God is moving. You stop begging for signs and start seeing signs everywhere. Every closed door becomes confirmation. Every redirection becomes reassurance. Your spirit becomes calm even when your surroundings are stormy, because you know movement doesn't always look peaceful. It just always leads to purpose. When God is moving you, He begins to awaken something ancient and powerful within your soul. A deep awareness that your life was never meant to be ordinary. You start to feel it like fire in your bones, an urgency that won't let you rest. You can't explain it to everyone because it's not logical. It's spiritual. The people around you may not understand what's happening because they can't see what you see. They can't hear what you hear. They still speak the language of the earth, while your spirit is learning to listen to the voice of heaven. God begins to open your inner ear, your inner sight, and your spiritual understanding. Suddenly, you begin to see beyond circumstances. You recognize divine patterns where others see confusion. You understand that life is not falling apart. It's falling into place. And as this awakening deepens, you start to realize that divine movement requires trust more than understanding. God will not always explain His plan to you, because if He did, your mind might try to interfere with what your spirit must obey. When God is moving you, logic will not always make sense, and yet your soul will feel certain. That's the paradox of divine transition. Your intellect wrestles while your spirit rejoices. You will feel torn between what you see and what you sense. But God is teaching you to trust the unseen. Faith is not proven in clarity, it is proven in the fog. When everything is uncertain, faith is your compass and trust is your foundation. God will not show you the whole staircase. He will only show you the next step, because He wants you to move by obedience, not by calculation. You may not know where He's taking you, but He knows exactly where you belong. That's the beauty of surrender. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes and begin to rest in divine orchestration. You begin to understand that peace is not found in knowing everything. It's found in knowing that God is in control of everything. When you truly grasp that truth, your fear begins to die. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start declaring, even if it doesn't work my way, it will still work God's way. That's when your heart becomes unshakable. That's when divine confidence is born. And while this transformation is happening within you, God will start to test your patience. Movement does not always mean speed. Sometimes it means waiting in divine stillness while everything within you wants to run ahead. The delay is not denial, it is design. God will keep you hidden while He works on your foundation. The world may think you're forgotten, but heaven is simply perfecting you in private before revealing you in public. God knows when the fruit of your life is ripe enough to be seen. If He releases you too soon, the weight of purpose could crush you. That's why He hides you in obscurity, so your roots can grow deep before your branches spread wide. You may not like the waiting, but waiting builds strength that rushing can never give. When God is moving you, you begin to sense divine timing in everything. You start noticing how certain opportunities appear at just the right moment. You realize that the delays were not meant to punish you, but to protect you from stepping into something prematurely. There are seasons where God withholds success to preserve your soul. He knows that some blessings could become burdens if received too early. So He teaches you patience, not as a punishment, but as preparation. He makes you wait so that when the blessing comes, you won't worship the gift, but the giver. In this sacred process, your relationship with God becomes more intimate. You begin to crave His presence more than His promises. You no longer chase blessings, you chase alignment. You no longer seek things, you seek understanding. You learn to pray differently. You stop asking God to change your circumstances and start asking Him to change you. You stop praying for open doors and start praying for the strength to walk through them when they come. That's the maturity divine movement creates. You begin to understand that it's not about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you're meant to be. And when you reach this level of surrender, God begins to trust you with more. He starts to reveal deeper dimensions of your purpose. You begin to see how every pain was shaping your destiny, how every loss was preparing room for greater gain. You realize that nothing was wasted. Not the tears, not the rejection, not the loneliness. All of it was a divine classroom. God was training you when you thought He was punishing you. He was developing your resilience when you thought He was breaking your spirit. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every delay, it all had divine fingerprints on it. You begin to see life not through the lens of disappointment, but through the eyes of divine orchestration. But be careful. When God starts moving you to higher levels, you must guard your heart against pride. Promotion without humility is a trap. God will elevate you not to inflate your ego, but to expand your influence. The higher He takes you, the more He expects you to serve. True greatness is not measured by how many serve you, but by how many you serve. When God moves you upward, He watches to see if you will still bow before Him. The greatest danger of success is forgetting the source of it. God moves those who remain humble. The moment you start believing you achieved by your own power, movement stops. Divine flow depends on divine submission. So, when everything around you starts shifting, when the familiar begins to fall away, when silence replaces clarity, when people leave, when doors close, when life feels uncertain,